So for this video, I just want to quickly mention a read-along that's going to be starting in June on the Book Astronomer Discord. We've got a lot of fun read-alongs and buddy reads happening this year, but this is one that's going to be starting in June. So let's just go ahead. I can't talk. Let's just go ahead and announce it. In June, starting in June, we're going to be starting The Legends of the First Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. So, of course, the first book is Age of Myth. So we're going to be starting with this book in June, and we're going to be reading one book a month. And there's six books in the series. So we'll be doing one a month. So it'll be running from June all the way up until November. And of course, this is all taking place on the Book Astronomer Discord. So if you're interested at all in either rereading this really fun fantasy series by Michael J. Sullivan, or if you're interested in reading it for the first time, come join the Book Astronomer Discord. It's a lot of fun. We've also got a ton of other read-alongs and just buddy reads in general that we do. We've also got the Ray Bradbury Book Club. We just finished reading Brent Weeks' Lightbringer series. We've also got the Thrill Chiller Kill Book Club that we do once a month, where we read a random thriller or horror book. We've got the Harry Potter read-along that started in March, that's running all the way through September, where we're reading a Harry Potter book a month. So a lot of fun stuff on the Book Astronomer Discord. So sign up for that if you haven't already. But like I said, we're going to be starting in June with Age of Myth, which is the very first book in Michael J. Sullivan's Legends of the First Empire. And like I said, there are 6 books in the series. So we're going to be doing one a month all the way up until November. So to recap, we've got Age of Myth, which we'll be reading in June, which is book 1. We've got book 2, Age of Swords, which we'll be reading in July. And we've got book 3, Age of War, which we'll be reading in August. And then we've got book 4, Age of Legend, which we'll be reading in September. We've got Age of Death, which is book 5, which we'll be reading in October. And then finally, to end it all, we've got Age of Empire, the 6th and final book, which we'll be reading in November. So like I said, if you're interested in joining us, the link for the Book Astronomer Discord is down below. And if you don't know anything about this series or this author, I'll quickly mention that Michael J. Sullivan, his books previous to this, because all of his books basically takes place in the same universe. He did a series called, actually I don't remember what it's called, but it's the main characters are Royce and Hadrian, and the first book is Theft of Swords. And that's also kind of a 6-book series with, like, it's 3 books, but each book has 2 books. And they're fantasy books, and they're a really fun time. And that was his main series for a while. But actually, these books are kind of a prequel series to this. So this first book actually takes place, I don't even know, like it's like 1,000 or maybe even 3,000 years before the events of Theft of Swords. So kind of fun that way. But basically, like, all of his books kind of take place in the same universe. For me, like, if you're weirded out about maybe reading the prequel before you've read those books, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. I actually started with these books and had a fantastic time with them. And then I went back and read his first books, Theft of Swords, and I can't remember all of those names, but they were still pretty good too. I would say that these books are superior. Maybe that's just because I started with them first, but I really had a fun time with them. And like I said, they are fantasy books. They are relatively short. I know a lot of people might not want to jump into like a really long epic series. They're very short. They're all about 400-ish pages. So 6 books times 400, that's like 2 Stormlight books. So it's not too much of a commitment. And my main love for this series is the characters. Michael J. Sullivan just really has good character work. And if you're interested to know kind of like what this series is and what it's about, it basically starts with this guy who's a human named Wraith. And in this story, there's humans and then there's basically what are elves. I can't remember. They're called the Frey. They're basically just elf creatures. And in this story, the humans basically perceive them as godlike immortals. And yeah, so in the first chapter, this isn't really spoilery, but in the first chapter, basically they get into an altercation, and Wraith somehow manages to kill one of these Frey. And everyone's kind of freaking out about it because they're like, oh, I thought these were immortal creatures. Like, how was he able to defeat them? And then, of course, the Frey are really mad that this is getting out. So basically, they have a plan to basically just try to take out the humans, who they kind of perceive as like low-level creatures, like they're ants to them, which is kind of crazy. But it's a really fun story, and basically that's kind of the starting point for the series. Is like the elves are mad with the humans, and a war starts. And you get further into the series, obviously, and it gets more complicated. This first book really only has like a couple of POVs. So you got Wraith, and then you've got Persephone, who is kind of like a clan leader, or the wife of a clan leader to start out with, of this big group of humans. You've also got Ciri, who is kind of a mysterious, mystic, young female character who is kind of like really in tune to nature. She has like a pet wolf who is really, really cool. One of the best animal companions of all time, in my opinion. But she's able to kind of like weirdly communicate with nature, which is fun. And then you've got some dwarven characters who you meet further on in the series. And as you get further on into the series, more and more perspectives start popping out. And like I said, Michael J. Sullivan is just really good with characters and character perspectives. And also, this is also maybe not like super fast paced, but it is on the faster side for fantasy. So a lot of stuff is happening in all of these books. And while he's doing all of that, you're meeting new characters and getting to know older characters. So it's just a really fun time, in my opinion. It's one of my all-time favorite fantasy series. I would definitely put it in my top 10. It's also, I feel like, a very consistent series. And what I mean by that is that there's not really any duds in this series. All of the books I would give at least 4 stars. Some of them I would even give 5 stars, 4.5 stars. They're all really good. I'm not quite sure how I would rank the series, but Age of Myth is definitely one of my favorite fantasy novels of all time. It's so much fun. I would give it 5 stars. Maybe my least favorite, of course, all of these could change upon a reread, but maybe my least favorite was Age of Swords. It's actually the longest book in the series. So I think it was like 20 hours on audio. So weirdly, the second book is the longest book, but it was a little bit slower than the rest of them. Still really liked him. Age of War, definitely one of the better ones. It's like 4.5, 5 stars, like on par with the first one. And then Age of Legend, maybe kind of on par with book 2. Still really good, but maybe not one of my like favorites in the series. And then Age of Death and Age of Empire, the last book, are both very good as well. So overall, the series is just very consistent. And if you want a series that has a lot of cool, kind of like a melding of like classic fantasy elements, but with more of a modern storytelling ability for Michael J. Sullivan and really cool characters and world building, you're going to love this series. So yeah, I just wanted to make this quick video announcement to announce the read-along for Legend of the First Empire, of course, starting with Age of Myth in June. We're reading 1 book a month all the way up until the last book, Age of Empire, in November. And if you're at all interested, come join the Bookish Drummer Discord. It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, like and subscribe. And thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.